There are three pillars to our strategy. One is asymmetry. So asymmetry means we have an asymmetric relationship between risk and reward. Now, most of you, when you're trading with credit spreads or verticals or even butterflies, you're probably at best doing like 3 parts risk to 1 part reward. Or sometimes even with the at the money iron condor type of thing on 0 DTE, it would be 5 to 1 or even 10 to 1, right? We don't do that. We have that's asymmetric, but it's in the wrong direction. What we do is we do 1 part risk to 10 parts reward, or approximately 10. Usually it's somewhere between 9 and 20, right? So that's a very different story. So that means that we're taking very, very little risk. So that's the first part of our strategy is asymmetry. So I'll put that up here. That's the first tenet of our strategy, asymmetric risk to reward. The second part of our strategy is premium collection on 0 DTE. Now this is pretty evident because that's what we do. So we'll just say it's premium collection. But we do it on a day when the ratio between the amount of premium that you collect and the time that you have to collect it is at its maximum. And that's on the 0 DTE event. And then the third part of our strategy is our process. And within that process is our profit-taking framework. Right, so there's our 3 parts. All right, so how do we achieve asymmetry? We achieve it by that 1 to 10 or 1 to 9. We do it with the 10% rule, and we do it with an out-of-the-money butterfly. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the Batman butterfly, which is basically 2 butterflies, but let's start with the most basic thing, and that's the out-of-the-money butterfly. And let's say that this is where at the money is. This is where the current market price is. So today, right now, the current market price is at about 4,100. So let's say that that's where it is, 4,100. So the way we get our asymmetry is we put our butterfly out of the money. Now, in the money would mean that we put the butterfly right here. And this is probably what most of you do. And when you get into a butterfly like that, it's very difficult to consistently get profit because price wants to move this way or that way. And in order to make profit, you have this range here. And you really want to stay somewhere within this range to get the maximum amount of profit. But if that range is only about, I don't know, say 20 points, the market typically moves way more than 20 points. Often it can move like today. It moved, let's see, at the high, it was at 41.27, actually about almost 41.30, and now it's at 4,100. So that's 130 points. Even if this were a 40 wide on either side, that's 80 points wide, you still wouldn't have made money. If it was 100 points wide, you still wouldn't have made money. And your risk would have been huge. Your risk on a typical at-the-money butterfly like that would be something like this. This is out of proportion here. It would have looked more like this, where your risk would have been maybe 2 to 1, max. So you would have been, say, betting $200 to make $100, or let's say $1,000 to make $500. And the 500 would only be if you got right here. The chances are that you would get somewhere over here. So in reality, you'd be risking, say, $1,000 to make, I don't know, realistically, maybe $100. And it's the same deal if you would put on an iron condor. You would have done something similar. So what most people do in 0 DTE is they put on an iron condor that looks kind of like this, where the width of your spreads are between 5 and 10 points, something like that, but their delta is way out there, like maybe a 5 to 10 delta. So now your risk is something like, let's say it's a 10 wide, $1,000 to make a max of $100, but no one takes 100 because you're worried about premium decay, because your profit curve kind of looks this. You move back and forth and you start going down that profit curve. You're worried about a max loss of $1,000. So what you're hoping that premium will increase. This will go up in that tiny little spot. And so what most people do is they'll take like 50% of that as soon as they hit 50%. But that happens on a small number of cases. It can happen regularly, right? But in the meantime, your price is moving back and forth. You're biting your nails because you're way underwater. And most people will put a stop at about $300, which often gets hit. All right? So that's the typical situation. We don't do anything like that. We do something completely the opposite. So let's say at the money is right here again. Instead of putting it at the money, we put the butterfly out of the money. Out of the money butterfly. And when we put it out of the money, this risk gets very small. And typically we have 1 part risk to as much as 10 parts reward, like that. Now that doesn't mean that you're going to hit that 10, but what it does mean is that your real-time profit curve, when you put it on, looks like this. It's really wide. It's from here and and extends way out like this. Now this would be what would be considered a directional trade. You're only going to make money if the market moves this way. But if it does move this way, you have a lot of range to make money, and you can make money anywhere around here. And of course, if it gets into the profit tent, as the day grows on, this curve will start increasing like this, right? So for a wide range of prices outside of the profit curve, you can make money. And if it gets inside of the profit tent, this area that I'm going to color green, anywhere in here, you're going to potentially make a lot of money.